Hello and welcome back. Let's jump straight into video 3. In video 1 we talked about the overview of WordPress. In video 2 we talked about posts and pages and a few of the other things. And in this video we're going to specifically focus on the themes and the plugins. But before we do that, I just want to quickly dive into the users. Now, I spoke before about users and the different roles that are available. I just want to show you what that looks like now. So here we have, very similar to posts and pages, the ability to add a new user, and we can click add new. We also have the overview, same with the screen options, we can turn on or off certain information. And if we add a new user, we need to give them a username. Now one of the things that I like to do here is I like to make the username the same as the email. So I do this the same, test@test.com. Don't know whose email address that is, but I can only imagine they have a lot of pretend emails. So then we need to give a first name and a last name. We can then show a password. We can create our own, or we can use one that's there. Recommend that you use a strong password. Do we want to send a notification to the new user? And what role do we want to give them? So remember what I said about administrator roles, and only give an administrator role out if you absolutely trust the person who you're giving it to, and make sure you back up your site beforehand. It might be, depending on where you are in the world, that you might need an NDA, you might need GDPR compliance checks. There are things that you may need to do to protect yourself before you give somebody access, and that's definitely something you should consider. I'm very, very careful of giving anybody admin access to your website. I'm not going to go over too much about tools. There's a few things that you can go through and check there, but it's all pretty self-explanatory. We've already done settings, and so the only two things that are now left for us to go through are the plugins and the appearance. So let's start with appearance. If I click on appearance, you're going to see already I have a few things that I've installed. Now, when WordPress is set up, it's normally set up with the standard WordPress theme, which in this case is 2019. And we can click add new the same way as we would with a post, and it's going to give us the option of adding any theme that we want that is within the WordPress repository. Now there are some good and bad themes in here, and what a lot of people do when they start up is they look around, they'll spend a few hours, find something that they like the look of, and then they'll install it. Now the challenge is you don't know if it's supported, you don't know if it's going to have any problems with it, you don't know if it's going to do all of the things that you need it to do, you don't know how customizable it's going to be, and you have no real understanding. So I would be very cautious around using some of the themes that are available here. There are a few, not that many, but if you do go through, you can see there's over 4,000 here now. Especially in the latest ones. There's 7,000 in here now. You can look at some favorites. You can do other things as well. So lots and lots here. Now there are some good free themes, so I'm not discrediting them totally. But I will say that with some of the premium themes that you can purchase, you will get a better level of support. Now I have used pretty much most premium themes on the market, and just to give you some context of themes, when themes used to be around a few years back, they pretty much did everything, and we went for a trend where we had what was called the multi-purpose theme, and a multi-purpose website theme was really a theme that did everything, and people were really excited about having this flexibility. However, one of the downsides to that flexibility was the performance. Because there was so much information on these themes, they bloated out the website, and your performance was lacking as a result. Sometimes they got a bit buggy, and it became quite challenging. And so what happened is there was a swing. A swing happened about 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago. We had, going back a little bit before that, the introduction of the page builder. So what a lot of the themes used to do is they used to give the ability to customize the look and the feel of the site. And there were some page builders that came out which were plugins. Now the plugin, as I mentioned, is additional functionality. So what would happen is the page builders would add on to the theme and would allow you to build pages very visually with a lot of drag and drop. Some of the things you'd expect from things like Squarespace, Wix, other page builder templates, things that are out there. And so what happened is some themes started to incorporate page builders. Some page builders work specifically well with certain themes. But what we started to see was a decline in the multi-purpose theme, and we started to see an increase in the lightweight theme. Now, a lightweight theme was a theme that did nothing more than allowed the page builder to do its job. And the one that I recommend and the one that I personally use is called Astra. Now, I know the developer of Astra. It's a very, very good theme, and it's a very, very good company. The company behind it are called Brainstorm Force. I highly recommend them. Astra is a fantastic theme. It's free, and it allows you to do most of the things that you may need to do within your website. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to, in fact, I'm just going to activate the 2019, and I'm going to show you it on the front end so we can see this is the home page. Okay, this is the post. Okay, and then I'm also going to just open up the blog as well, just so that we can see. So we've got the home page, the blog, archive, and we've got the single page, the 3 different pages that we built in a previous video. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to Astra. And to install a theme, it's very easy. Click Add New, click on the theme that you want, and just click Install, and then click Activate. That's all you need to do. So I've done that for Astra. If I look at my themes, you'll see Astra is now installed. It's now activated. So now if I come back here, I'm going to just press refresh. And this is going to go from the 2019 theme to now this is using Astra. So as you can see, very, very different. It's pulled my logo in. I'd already uploaded. There's a featured image here, and this is the home page. Come to the blog. This is how the blog looked before. Refresh this, and this is how the blog looks now. It's cleaner. It's easier to see, easier to understand. And this was the overview of the post. And now, as you can see, it's in different sections. We have a heading, we have a sidebar, we have a content area, and then we have the comment area. So already it's a lot cleaner. But what's really important is it's very, very lightweight. And the idea behind this is when we go back and we look at some of the plugins, i.e. the page builders, one of the first on the scene was called Visual Composer by a company called WP Bakery. And it was very, very good back in the day because there was nothing else really like it. But what we realized early on as developers and people building websites was that it was very buggy. And any business owner or anybody who wanted to build websites but didn't understand code loved Visual Composer, and any developer hated Visual Composer. It was very much like Marmite. But what happened as a result, even though Visual Composer wasn't the best, is it instigated a new era of page builders. We had Cornerstone, we had Divi, we had Optimized Press, we had lots and lots of others that started to show up and take over. There was Beaver Builder, there was Genesis, and a lot of these frameworks started to appear that allowed you to really do a lot of this page building, and they were fantastic until a couple of years ago. And a couple of years ago, a new page builder, it kind of emerged. It was quite unknown for a while, and then just after a year into its as it was starting to grow, it started to get some traction. So a year into its stride, shall we say, it exploded. It absolutely took off, and it dominated. And it is now, without a doubt, the page builder that most people use as standard, and it is called Elementor. And so some of you may have heard of it. If you haven't, it's not a problem. But what we do now is we install a WordPress website with a very, very lightweight theme that allows us to focus specifically on using the page builder or the plugin called Elementor. So before I go into that too deep, one of the things that I will mention is that even though we're not using the standard WordPress theme, we still leave it installed. If ever there was a conflict or a problem with this theme, it would revert back to this theme, which won't look good, but at least it will have a theme, and it won't just say there is no theme. So we are going to keep this installed even though we're not using it. We're not going to install others. I like to keep this nice and clean. There's no need, apart from the backup from the theme you're working on. And you're going to see that I have another theme here. Now this is actually called a child theme, and this is really important to understand. A core theme or a parent theme, if you make any changes to this theme, to the files and the folders that we mentioned before, and let's just go and open this up now. So we're going to come into our WP content, and from here you're going to notice, I'm just going to move this across. So from here what you're going to see is, if I go into themes, we have our Astra theme. And this is what the theme looks like. This is all of the things that this theme needs to function and for it to look and feel and do the things that it does. Now, if the company behind this theme or any theme decide to update their theme, it will replace all of these files and folders, and it will update all of these files and folders. Now, if you've made any customizations to any of these, they will be overridden and you will lose them. And this used to be a big problem. So what we do is we install what is called a child theme. Now here I have one, it is called Framework. And by simply activating this child theme, all it means is that this is a child theme of the parent. And any WordPress theme will have the ability for you to download a child theme, or it should have if it is a theme worth using. And what this means is that when the parent theme is updated, it will not affect any customizations that you have made to the child theme. So now I can come into my child theme, which is called Framework. And as you can see, there's not a lot in here, but any changes that I make within here, this is this file now. This is my style.css where I make all of my updates and all of my edits. Any updates that I make within here, if the core Astra theme was to update, they would not be overridden. So very, very important that you get into the habit and you understand. And one of the reasons we need to do that is because in the Astra theme itself, there is a file called header.php. Okay, you will need to copy this and duplicate it. You will then need to drag this into your framework, or not even your framework, your child theme. You can now see this, and I now need to rename this. So it's no longer called copy, it's called header.php. The way that WordPress works is it will always use the active theme first. So if I have a file in here which has the same name and is in the same place, it will load this first. So for example, if I was to create style.css, which you can see, it will load this one before this one. It will always load the child before the parent. So I can override any of these in the child theme and it will make sure that it uses this first. So if I open up the header.php, you will see this is what it looks like. This is all of the code. And the reason we're going to do this is because later in another video, we're going to add some code in here. And you will need to add this code because this code will be all of your tracking, your Facebook tracking pixels, your Google Analytics, if you have a chat bot, anything that is a script that we're going to add to the website will go through some code that we will add here. And I will show you how to do that very, very easily step by step in another video. But for now, we don't need to worry about that. We don't need to go into here. We just need the awareness to know that we're going to come back and to know why we're doing this. I want you to understand why we're doing this, not so that you can do it, but so you can make sure, because what I wouldn't want is for you to not have a child theme, to make some customizations to the parent theme, and for it to be updated, and then for you to lose all of that hard work. Okay, so just understand that we are creating a child theme for later on because we will need it. We don't do much in here anymore. To be honest, that is the only change that I will need to make in the theme folder. So the only thing that I will change in it is that header.php. I will not need to add anything else into here at all. The whole WP content folder, the theme folder within the framework, nothing else will be added to it. That will stay as it is. It is as clean and as simple and as lightweight as we can possibly make it, and any other changes that we make we will do within the database. So that is as far as we need to go with looking at code. We do not need to write another line of code at the moment. If you need to make some customizations that go above and beyond what WordPress can do, it might be that you will need to come back in and you will need to change that. And if you do, it will be by changing, I'm just going to come back in here to show you, in the framework, there is a file called the functions.php. And it may be that you need to add some code in this functions.php, but that is, if you don't understand code, this is not something for yourself. This will be something that a developer will do. It is using something called hooks, and what you do is you use a function to hook into the theme at specific points. And one of the reasons we use Astra is because they have built lots of hooks into the theme, so we can hook into that function and we can allow it to do things easily. Sounds a little bit complex. Don't worry about it. You don't need to remember it, but just understand that for a lot of developers, this is an absolute perfect framework to use because it's already done a lot of the hard work. It's very clean and lightweight. It looks very good. It's very functional, and it allows you, with a lot of simplicity and a lot of ease, to be able to customize this above and beyond what you may feel like you need as standard. So we have our child theme installed, we have our parent theme installed, and we have our backup theme installed. That right now is all we need to do. We've seen how it looks on the front end. We understand this. We can close all of these down now because we know that that works. So there are a few things that we want to go through. The first thing that I want to look at is the Astra Options. This is a new option. If I activate the 2019 theme, you'll see that there is nothing here. Every single theme has its own thing that it does. And the thing that Astra does is it opens up this new menu called Astra Options. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to go and click on this now so that we can load up the Astra Options, and this is what you will see. So the first thing that it gives us is some quick links to link to some specific things that might be important to us. And this says links to customizer settings. We can see the customizer on the left hand side. It's underneath themes. But rather than going directly here, I wanted to bring you here first because it also says that if we upgrade to Astra Pro, which is a paid version, the Astra theme, which is absolutely fine, you can use this. The Astra theme works. It's a free theme, but they do allow you to upgrade to a Pro version to give you some extra things that you might need. Now, it's worth mentioning that you're not going to need all of these. Things like spacing, the Blog Pro, mobile header, header sections, nav menu, sticky header, page headers, custom layouts, side layouts, footer widgets, scroll to the top, WooCommerce, easy digital downloads, LearnDash, Lifter LMS, and White Label. All of these things are covered in Elementor, and we'll deal with all of those from Elementor. And Astra has been built specifically to work with Elementor. That's exactly what it does. So there are some extensions that we can do with Astra. And one of these, there's an import export. We don't need to worry about that. We can reset the customizer. We can add a customizer search. We can do a bulk edit, add our own widgets, custom fonts, type kits. There's an ultimate add-on for Gutenberg. What we want to do is we want the sidebar manager. So we're going to click activate on the sidebar manager, and on the left we will now see a new option that will appear. In fact, I'm going to need to refresh this page for us to see this. There we go. We can now see sidebars. This is something we will add later. So right now we've done everything that we need to do. You can create a starter site template if you want to. I'm not going to, but you can. And if you click on this, it's going to open up all of the different WP Astra themes that are available, all of the starter sites. It will show you what you can do and how you can do it. There's lots of really cool things that you can play with there. But we're not going to worry about that. We don't need that. There's some really cool things that you can play with, but obviously, again, we don't need to do that, so we're not going to worry about that too much. From here, we are instead going to come across to the customizer. Now, we're not going to use these quick links. We're going to click here on the left-hand side, and we're going to open, this is the WordPress Customizer. And because we are using Astra, it has extended the capability of this. So this is always going to be available in WordPress, but because we're using the Astra theme, it allows us to do some more things. And it's even saying that in Pro, there are some more options. Now, again, we don't need this, so we can ignore it. You can go and upgrade if you want. It's $59 to get the Pro theme. It gives you loads and loads of other things, but we don't need it. We're not worried about it at the moment. In fact, if you are part of our academy, the Online Mastery Academy, and if you are an Academy Plus member, you will get a license for the Astra Pro and all of the other add-ons that come with that. So you can contact me, reach out if you need that, and we can talk more about that. But for now, for the purpose of this, I want to get you started without any additional costs, so that you have the ability to start somewhere, and then as you make some money, you can reinvest that money at a later date. That's the purpose of this video series, to give you this overview. So we're going to click on layout, and the first thing we can see that we can do is we can create the header. So the first thing is a site identity. We can create ourselves a logo. So I clicked select logo, scroll down to the logo that I added at the beginning, and I'm going to click select. It's then going to allow us to use this logo. I can crop it if I want, or I can skip the cropping. I'm going to skip cropping. And now we have our logo. You can see that is here. And so now we have that, we can say a different logo for Retina devices or different for mobile. We can choose the size of the logo, and we can see it in real time by doing this. So we're going to go ahead here and we're going to say we want our logo to be 250 pixels wide. Okay, we have our site title. Now this is exactly the same as what was shown before in the general settings, but we're seeing it here in the customizer. It's just showing it so we don't have to go back to that general settings. Okay, and this is our home page. So we can choose whether to display this or not. If we choose display, it will show up. If we display this, it will show up. And if we make it all in line, it will look like that. I can now publish, and if I come back here and refresh, that's what that now looks like. Now obviously we don't want to use that, so what we're going to do is remove that. We could have that again if we want to. There's some basic options. We also have what is called a site icon or a favicon, and when we have that added, which we have here, if we publish that, what that will do, and I'm just going to change this image at the moment. I'm going to go down and see. I don't think I've got one. Let's just use this one for now. We're going to go ahead and select that, skip the cropping. You can actually see it. It's very dark actually, so it's hard to see, but it's being used here. It's that icon that's being used here. In fact, let's go ahead and just change that image. See if we can find a better one for now. Let's just use this one for now. It's not ideal, but we're just going to use it. So we're just going to crop that, and there we go. We can see that icon is being used. So very, very good option here for us to be able to update or add our own logos and do things that we need. So you can do that, and you can also upload your own. So if you can't find what you want, I can open up my Finder here. I'm just moving it onto a different screen so I can find it with ease. But what I'm basically doing at the moment is I'm just looking for my logo. So I know that I have in a folder all of my logos, and by just opening that up, I can actually pick out this one and upload it. And there we have my, there we go. We're going to skip the cropping. And now we can see this is being used just here. Okay, so you can see that being used. I can click publish, and now this is being used here. And if I come to this page and I refresh this page, there we go. We can now see this is now being used. So we have our site icon, we have our logo, and that's all been done within this theme here. Now, because we're not going to use headers, this is actually irrelevant. I'm just showing you what's possible here. We can choose a primary header. We can choose whether it is centered on the right. We can disable the menu. There's lots of stuff. But again, I'm not going to use this. I'm not going to use a primary header. I'm not going to use a transparent header. You can if you want. I'm going to show you a different way. I'm not going to use breadcrumbs. We can look at the blog. Okay, we can turn on or off different things on the blog. We can see different things. Single post. So remember I said before there's the archive, which is the overview, and then there's the single. So this is the blog archive or the single post. Different layout as well. We can choose that. The sidebar, we can choose whether there is a sidebar. If it is, this is the default layout, which is none. So this now picks up none. Blogs will have a right sidebar. Blog post archives have none. What's the percentage of the sidebar? Okay, so we can have that. A footer. Do we want a footer? If we want a bottom area on the website, we're not going to use that for this. And we can choose a container. So what is the overall width of the website? Is it going to be boxed? Maybe we want this boxed. Maybe we want to go for a full width stretched without boxed. So this is now a full width. Maybe we want to do full width, but we want to contain it. So we want to put it in here. Maybe we want to have it boxed. We're going to go full width stretched as the default container. It's going to be that's going to be the default container for pages. Blog posts, we maybe want to have the content boxed, and for the blog archive, maybe we want to do that as well. Okay, so now we can go ahead and publish, and that is everything in our layout. So now we can come out of layout, and we can come into the next one down, which is colors and backgrounds. What are our base colors? So if anything is a link, what color will that link be? What would a theme color be? And we can sit and we can make some basic choices. So these are some things to consider, and by doing this and by changing all of these, and we can choose what it's going to look like on a desktop, on a tablet, or on a mobile, just to see. And they're just different colors that we can add, different things we can do. Typography is going to be the font. What is the font that we're going to use? This pulls in all of the Google fonts. So we can choose our font family, our weight, the size of the font, the height of the font. So for example, if I wanted this to be, say, 20, it's going to change it here. I'm going to put it back to what it was. You can see it's going to change it there. I might want this to all be uppercase text. There you go. So now this is all the text will be uppercase instead of default. We can do different text for headings. So maybe I just want the heading text to be uppercase but not the content. So you can change a lot of this information from here in the base typography. Different heading styles you can change there. Different blog styles you can change the typography. Buttons. So there'll be buttons that you can use within a theme. This will be the text color, the hover color, the background color of the button. Some basic button settings, so you can do that. If you want to create menus, you can do that from here. So we can create a new navigation menu. So this could be the main menu, and I'm just going to delete this because this was what I was doing in a test. So we're going to have a main menu, and we might want to add an item. So we might want to add the home page. We might want the about page, the contact page. In fact, we're not going to use the home because that's a custom link. We're going to use the home page. Drag that to the top. Okay, so we're actually going to say home, then we want to have about and then contact. And we want to add the blog as well. And the blog we want to go underneath about. We can actually nest, so we can put the blog in the about if we wanted to. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky to get it where you want it, but once we've got that where we want it, you can click reorder if you want to, just to make it easier. Once we're happy though, we click publish. And there we have our menu. We can choose to come back. And if I went into the layout and I went into the header, and if you remember we was looking at the primary header, I disabled the menu, but if I don't disable the menu, it's now going to show up here. Okay, so just some things to consider as you're going through and you're building out your menus. We're not going to worry about widgets, not going to worry about homepage settings, although this is what we already did in the general settings. It's just doing it again. And if we have to make any additional tweaks to the code, to the CSS, to the style, we can do that here. So anything that we change here, if we were to do this, we can do that, and it will change everywhere. So if I want to change the background color of the entire body, I can do that by changing that here. So you can go in, and the more code you know, obviously the better it will be, because you can then go through and you can tweak and change every single thing you need to do. However, if you don't know code, do not worry. As I mentioned before, we do not need to know how to code anything. We can build an entire website with absolutely zero coding knowledge. It is always beneficial to have a basic understanding of HTML and CSS. I will give you an example of HTML. HTML will be if you want to make text bold. So if I wanted to say hello and I want to make this hello bold, I would wrap it in what is called B. B for bold. That is a starting tag, and this is an end tag. So now, because this code is wrapped in B and the end B, now this is for CSS, so it's not working, but I'm just giving you an example. That is HTML. And it always helps to have a basic understanding of HTML and CSS. So I do recommend you learn it. It will be very, very helpful. But if you don't understand it, don't worry. We're going to show you how you can do everything. So, publish. We've done our settings. We've done that, so I can now close this down. We can come back to our dashboard, and we've covered everything in theme, everything in customize. We've actually covered everything in menu because we did it through the customize, and we've gone back through some of the settings, but we did it through the customizer. So I'll just click on menu to show you it. This is the menu, which is very, very similar. We've created our menu, we've added our things, we can drag and drop and move them. We can add different menu items. And if things do not show up on the left-hand side, click on Screen Options, and we can see them here. Maybe we want to see tags. So we can actually put all of the tags. So anything that was a post with tag A, we can actually add that to the menu, and now that will show up. And it will show up within our menu. So if I went ahead and saved this menu, and went and viewed the website on the front end, now we can click tag A, and it's going to show us all of our blogs which are in tag A. So lots of things that we can do here, lots of ways we can play with this. It might be that we want tag A underneath the blog, and it might be that we want the categories. So maybe we want category A, and maybe we want category B. So we might be able to do that here like this, okay, and maybe the tag is under category. So now we have a menu structure that looks like this. If I now come back to the site and refresh, we'll now see we have blog, but if we hover, we have a drop down. And if we hover here, we can see we have another one. So it shows you how we can have parent-child menu items as well, and how we can use those. So that shows you how you can create your menu. We've seen how to do everything else. The only thing missing here is sidebars. We haven't touched on sidebars. So let's just go ahead and click on sidebars. It says there are no sidebars found. So for now, let's say that we want a specific sidebar, and this is a blog category sidebar. So let's say we want a different sidebar for the main blog than we do the blog categories. So this is going to replace the main sidebar, but we need to say where do we want it to display. We want it to display only on categories. Okay, so we can say specific pages, specific posts. We want it to show on all category archives, okay, and we can add different things here, different user roles, only for people that are logged in. We can have a different sidebar to people that are logged in, to people that are logged out, different options here, different things here. But I can go ahead and I can publish that, and I now have a different sidebar. And I can create as many sidebars as I want to show up in different places. It's very, very good when you start to build out a site that is more dynamic and reacting to people. Like I said, you might want to create one, and this might be logged out. Okay, and then we might want to create one and say that this is a sidebar that we're going to create. So we're going to add this, and we're going to sorry, I'm just going to go back because I've created it, but then I come out of it. So this is going to replace the main sidebar, but it's only going to be shown when somebody is logged out. Okay, and it's going to display on the on the entire website. But we're going to say in this case all posts. So any blog post when a user's logged out, they're going to see this sidebar. So now we've done our sidebars, we now need to populate the sidebar. So the sidebar, which we'll see here, if I just come back to the blog, and if I click on a blog post, this is the sidebar. And within the sidebar are what are called widgets. This is the last piece of the jigsaw, the last thing to show you for you to understand how it works. If we click on widgets, we're going to see the widget screen. Now we can already see there are quite a few sidebars that exist. There is a header sidebar, there is a footer sidebar, section 1 and 2. There is also a footer widget area 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now these are part of the Customize. If I open up Customize, and if I click on, when I'm in Customize, if I click on the footer area, so if you remember I went to widgets, I went to layout, footer, and I look at the footer widgets, I can disable those. There are 4 options that are available. I can show these 4 areas here, or I can disable them. Okay, and now if I show them, anything that is in this footer widget area 1 will show up. And we can ignore these. We don't tend to need to use these too much, so we're going to ignore them. We have our main sidebar, which shows us we have a search widget and a recent post widget. And if I come across to the site, here is our search, here is our recent posts. So let's build out a custom sidebar, shall we? And we're going to do this for the blog category sidebar. So maybe within the categories, we want to see the different categories that are available. Okay, so this can be, we'll give it a title, categories. Now, if I come back here and I refresh this, This is going to be the sidebar for the blog archive. However, if I click on the categories, and there is no sidebar here at the moment because we told it not to show one. So what I would need to do is I would need to be able to go in and change this. So I would need to tell the sidebar where it needs to display. Okay, we need to change that, the archive layout. The reason that that is the way it is at the moment is because in the layouts, if I go back to the sidebar, and we said archives no sidebar, so I would need to say the default on an archive page is a right sidebar. By doing that, I can now come back here, I can now open up this, and now we have a sidebar. But you can now see there is a different sidebar. The sidebar on the category is actually showing the categories that we created. And this is showing the widget from here. What we might want to do is we might want to let people log in. We might want a login box, and we can create that for the people that are logged out to give them the ability to log in. There's a lot of different things that we can create here, and as we add new plugins, we will have new widgets that are available, which will allow us to do different things. So very, very important for us to be able to see this. Maybe because people are logged in, we want them to be able to see this meta information. So we might call this admin, for example. Okay, call this recent posts. So we give it a title, and we don't need anything for the search bar because that makes sense. So now refresh this with the search, recent posts, and the admin information, which is site admin and all of the other stuff. So this shows you how you can create custom sidebars based on different layouts using the Astra theme. And that should be enough for you right now to be able to go in and to be able to create the pages that you need, to start writing posts, and to create the sidebars so that you can start to get a basic look and feel of the content that you want within your site. So that is everything that we're going to cover in the appearance side of things today for the themes. In the next video, I'm going to go through specifically the core plugins that I use. We're also going to install Elementor, and we're going to make our website really start to come to life on the front end.